Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March 26, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well with high hopes and, good health. I don't know. We're trying to change it up a little bit, huh? As for me, I'm doing pretty well. Had a great weekend. I feel like I can say that. Let's see, what did I get into? Saturday, I had a friend's birthday party. Actually, it more or less was a combined birthday party, just kind of a bit delayed. But we had my one friend, Christina. Happy birthday, Christina. We had a birthday at her house. It was very fun. The family made what was it like, beef short ribs, which are amazing, and also steak on a stick. And I think they got grilled up. Yeah, it was so yummy. It was so good. Also, there was bomb macaroni salad and bomb macaroni and cheese. So I was hog in heaven. I had a really good time. It was very merry. Um, Needless to say, fast forward, my day didn't really start till like 12 o'clock today. Um, but overall, it's seemingly a nice Sunday. I haven't really gone outside. I'm going to have to do some groceries. But yeah, it's been a good day. It's been nice. It's been relaxed. I've been in bed. um, all right. What else is there? Oh, yeah. We're going to go ahead and do a little beer beverage review at the top. Since we're already in the food corner, why not? I gotta say that hazy, juicy, whatever thing, the Voodoo Ranger one, oof, that was too much. It was much for muchness. And I usually wind up paying for that. Like, I think I do like when I go to, like, pubs or wherever little breweries, and they have those, like, little small pours of those kind of things where it's like, just plus 8 or 9, whatever. They get up to like 14 sometimes when it comes to the beer. But doing it in a can like that, it just didn't taste good. It was giving like Four Loko in a bad way. But I got a new beer for me to try today. It's Jackie O's Chomo Laguma. I don't know. It's got a little Yeti monster guy, a Bigfoot man with a flag. Looks like he's doing a little backpacking. I'm like, this is my speed. I like this. I think it's cute. It's got 8.5, right? I think it's what it says. No, it's 6.5. Okay, 6.5. I'm fine with that. That means it's probably going to taste good. It says it's got some brown ale with honey. And I'm like, I'm just looking for normal taste right now. Good tasting, I should say. Not so much normal. Because if I could just get normal, I could just get any like PBR or whatever. Ooh, okay. I like this. It's like almost like a mead vibe, but lighter. So I'm digging this. Okay. All right. Ooh, that's good. Okay, I definitely would recommend that. All right, we can get into it though. Let's see from Reuters. Excuse me. Tornado tears across Mississippi. More than 2 dozen dead. So let's see, March 25th. Rescuers combed through rubble on Saturday after a powerful storm tore across Mississippi late on Friday, killing at least 25 people there and one person in Alabama as it leveled hundreds of buildings and spawned at least one devastating tornado. Also, I believe too that there's going to be like more severe weather slated for like today in like those southern areas, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Obviously, it's really upsetting to hear this like high level of like loss of life. Obviously, I try to cover the big ones that make the headlines, but even so, like sometimes a lot slip through the cracks in terms of like earthquakes, other disasters, floods, things like that. But I just wanted to cover this a little bit. Um, let's see. In Rolling Fork, a town around 1900 in western Mississippi that was hit the hardest. Homes were reduced to rubble, tree trunks snapped like twigs, and cars were tossed aside like toys. The town's water tower lay twisted on the ground. Some of these pictures were really intense. As always, when you see these kind of footage or these kind of situations, um, there's also some more stories that are also referenced in the article. If you would like to read them, but yeah, I just wanted to cover at least one of those kind of going on throughout the weekend. But like I said, there's definitely some others that took place this week that I probably am not going to get a chance to cover. But yeah. Moving on to some other state news, though, from CNN. Utah governor signs bill requiring teens to get parental approval to join social media sites. So this was a development that I was kind of like, okay, like I want to say I was surprised about, just because I remember last year I think I was hearing about how like in China they were limiting the hours that kids could be online and game and things of that nature. And that was like talked about. I think I listened to it like the BBC, BBC Global News. So I was like listening to that. I'm like, okay, that's pretty surprising. It was definitely making the news rounds and the coverage. I wouldn't say I heard anything like super negative about it, but I would say me personally, I was surprised, because that's one of those things where I think of myself as a kid, and if someone tried to restrict me, because my parents were pretty laissez-faire about it, like they didn't know too much about video games, they weren't gamers, so by the time I was in my I want to say I was like, oh man, I was maybe 5 or 6. I think I was 5 or 6 when I started playing a Sega Genesis, and I was just able to play games of whatever. From there on out. So, throughout the ages, throughout the consoles, I was just playing and gaming, whatever. And I kind of think that makes me a little biased in these kind of conversations and things, because I don't have any kids. I don't know, like, if I would want to restrict my kid. Like, oh, would I buy this game because it has mature content for my child or my, young whatever? Like, I don't know, because I don't have a kid. I don't think about that kind of shit for real. But I know there's definitely parents out there who do. But also just in terms of just bringing it back to like what the focus of this article is. Let's get to it. The governor of Utah signed a controversial bill on Thursday that will require minors to obtain the consent of a guardian before joining social media platforms, marking the most aggressive step yet by state or federal lawmakers to protect kids online. So, I mean, this is obviously a big thing, and I feel like also we have the whole thing about TikTok potentially being banned. Also, I'm going to kind of shoehorn this in here before we get into the meat of this article. But TikTok, they are potentially, more or less, the U.S. has said, hey, we are going to give you this ultimatum, more or less. We're going to ban TikTok unless the Chinese owned like more or less ByteDance, I think, but the Chinese ownership, like they have to sell off TikTok. If they do that, then okay. So essentially, I think it's like selling off the company, but I don't know if that's gonna wind up happening, because TikTok is just making so much money right now. So it kind of remains to be seen. Also, whether or not that can be actually enforced, like in terms of like TikTok suing or whatever. But I think TikTok CEO was in front of Congress. They were grilling him, asking a lot of questions. I know I should have covered that, but it kind of got lost in the flurry for the week. And I've kind of touched on it before in a previous episode, so I was like, Anyway, so that happened. But anyway, we can get back to this. Sorry about it. As part of the bill called the Utah Social Media Regulation Act, social media platforms will have to conduct age verification for all Utah residents, ban all ads for minors, and impose curfew, making their sites off limits between the hours of 10:30 and 6:30 for anyone under the age of 18. The bill will also require social media platforms to give parents access to their teens' accounts. So I feel like this is a big bill. Like, it's very interesting to see this, come to pass. Um, I think there's definitely one half of this that's saying like, "Hey, we're doing this to protect our kids, and you know, this will hopefully lead to them not just delving into the rabbit hole that is social media platforms." I think something that really was a big push for this bill was I think there was like an increase of suicide rates, things of that nature. I think there was a couple of like big highlights that they talked about in like a video on the CNN article. If you wind up going and looking into this, but let's see. There's also a counterpoint though that says like, hey, like social media platforms provide an opportunity for youth to potentially not just express themselves, but get a window to see other points of view. Also to get better researched and better informed. Sometimes maybe not for the best because there's definitely a lot of misinformation that you can find on social media, of course. But there's also chances to find resources, like let's say you're part of the LGBTQ situation. That's not the way to really word it. Sorry, but essentially you are, you're young and you want to learn more, you want to see more, and being able to follow certain influencers and things of that nature can really open your eyes to things you maybe never knew about because you're living in a small town. So the idea of like, oh, maybe your parents aren't really into that and they don't like that. So essentially they like self censor for their whole family and you can't even have access to this stuff. So that's kind of a bit of a mess to me. I don't like that aspect when I'm, looking at it from that perspective. Though I do get the idea saying like, hey, social media just is a flood of things. And I mean, if you log on to not just TikTok or Facebook or Twitter, like any one of these, like it's just insert social media here. There's definitely a chance that you just go through a slippery slope and you see things that maybe you shouldn't see, at a younger age. And also, I do think that giving the power to the parents or guardianship is something that is often talked about when it's like, hey, when it comes down to it, it should be up to the parents to teach your kids. It's not up to the internet or television or whatever to do it. So I kind of am definitely on the fence about how I feel about this kind of bill because I think it's definitely like a start. Also, I think places like Connecticut and here in Ohio are also pursuing kind of bills and things like that of that nature. So it's a bittersweet kind of thing for me. I don't know really how I feel, but it's part of why I like having this podcast and talking about these things because it gives people the opportunity to say, hey, I do like this bill, or hey, I don't like this kind of bill. And here's why. So, yeah, I like, bringing these kind of things up, at least giving some kind of coverage here. Maybe not all the time the best, but see how that goes. Also, I think another thing that it brings up too is that there's definitely going to be holes in how you enforce this kind of thing because the youth are usually smart. There's a chance that you can use like VPNs to get around this. If you have another family member's identification or anyone else's kind of identification, you can potentially get around these little safeguards that are going to get put in place. So I'm also interested to see how this is going to be enforced, whether or not it's going to be effective or not. But yeah, time will tell. Let's see. Also from CNN, 2 additional deaths linked to bacteria in recalled eye drops, CDC says. Now this one, I gotta say, trigger warning. It's definitely like a bit graphic in terms of maybe the potential. I'm a bit squeamish even thinking about it, like having to talk about some of this stuff out loud. But essentially, okay, let me just get into it. A rare strain of bacteria found in recalled eye drops have been linked to dozens of infections, as well as cases of vision loss and surgical removal of eyes this week. The U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention reported 2 additional deaths, a total of 3, have been linked to the bacterial infection. Oof, glad I haven't eaten yet. Um, Global Pharma Healthcare recalled its artificial tears lubricant eye drops that were distributed by Ezricare and Delsam Pharma last month, and the agency has been warning people not to use the drops. As of March 21st, the CDC has identified 68 people in 16 states with infections of a rare strain of drug resistant Pseudomonas aeruginosa, never before reported in the United States. But most of patients reported using artificial tears, the CDC said, and Ezricare artificial tears was the brand most commonly reported. So I can't imagine the idea of you're using eye drops one day because you have some dry eyes or irritation, what have you. Because these are something, just, me growing up and have lived my life. Sometimes you need a little bit of eye drops to clear out some dryness or red eye, what have you. And I just cannot imagine the idea that you are using this eye drop, and then the next thing you know, instead of helping you, it starts hurting you or feels a little bit uncomfortable. And you go to the doctor and they try to treat it. But the next thing you know, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And next thing you know, you're not able to see, and you have this blurred vision, and there's this discoloration in your eye. There's so much going on. It's so disgusting. There's talks of discharge. Ugh, it's so gross. It's so gross. It makes me so uncomfortable. The eyes are so sacred. I don't know. Like, any kind of thing that talks where you lose your eye is so crazy to me. Um, I don't know, man. Obviously, that's why I talk about the articles and I highlight them, because you can always get a chance to look at them. But there's a lot going on here. There's also pictures of the eye damage. Um, oh my gosh! But then just the matter of, like, but when things are all said and done for some of the people in some of the better cases, even, um, you can only see like 20 feet of what healthy people can see at 400 feet. More or less having like a vision of like 2400. It's so sad. It's so upsetting for essentially just something of like, hey, I'm just trying to clear out dryness in my eyes, you know. So, but definitely, like, what can you do? Definitely don't buy the Ezra Care artificial tears or the Delsam eye drops, at least until the investigation is over and done with and they've come to some conclusions that things are good. Also, just making sure that if you use eye drops, that you keep them in nice, clean conditions with the cap closed. Try to avoid any skin contact with the tip, and make sure that they are not expired. Always just make sure that you keep them fresh so that, you have the best tip-top eye drops for yourself. That's all I can really advise to you there. Not that I am a doctor or a health expert, so, do your own research and stuff like that. Really gotta say that as a podcaster. All right. Not that we're moving on to any good news. Kind of just rolling on here. From NPR, a Pennsylvania chocolate factory explosion has killed 4 people and 3 are missing. So this is definitely not a Willy Wonka situation at all, which is very bummer. But an explosion at a chocolate factory in West Reading, Pennsylvania on Friday has killed 4 people and left 3 people missing. I wasn't able to find out the cause of the explosion. It looks like it's still under investigation. But yeah, definitely looks like it did massive damage to, obviously, the facility itself, the factory, and the surrounding area. I know that people are like advised to, like, hey, take a look around, make sure that everything around you hasn't taken any damage, and if it has, definitely report it. So yeah, that's a bummer. So I think if there's anything else here I want to glean or talk about here. The company has made seasonal chocolate novelties since 1948 and employs 850 people at its West Reading headquarters, about 60 miles northwest of Philadelphia. R.M. Palmer has been a presence in the company for decades now. Da, 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 da. But yeah, so it's a bummer that you hear about something like this happening. Hopefully, the area recovers well, and if there's any updates there, I will definitely keep you posted. But we have zigged and zagged, and we've made it to the end. But we have one more article to cover. This is where I like to take my classic little break since I've worked so hard. All right. This last article is from the Al Jazeera. I don't know why I said the Al Jazeera. It's just Al Jazeera, whatever. Hotel Rwanda hero Paul Rusesabagina. Oh my gosh, I went through the trouble trying to pronounce this correctly. Rusesabagina, freed from prison. Rusesabagina was serving a 25-year sentence in Rwanda on terrorism charges, but was freed on Friday, U.S. officials said. I don't know if you have seen the movie Hotel Rwanda, starring Don Cheadle. It is a very powerful and very moving movie about the situation that takes place in that area, and how a man who is Paul Rusesabagina winds up opening his hotel to take care of people who are in the middle of a, I don't know what I would call it. I feel like you could say a genocide. And essentially, they're all holed up and sequestered in this hotel. And, the focus is on this man and the choices he makes. And, that all plays out. That being said, fast forward now, Paul Rusesabagina is a very known figure. He has got a lot of press and publicity, and that being said, I think it's put him at odds because he has said things against the president Paul Kagame, and spoken out against him, his administration, saying that they were involved, and I think it's definitely have made him a political enemy or a target. And essentially, I think in 2020, he was boarding a plane in Dubai, thinking he was going to go to one place, and they wind up sending him to trying to think where they sent him to. I think he wound up back in Rwanda, in which they wanted to charge him for being a domestic terrorist, saying that he had said things against the government, and he was brought to, I think, Kigali. Yeah. Let's see. Rusesabagina was sentenced in 2021 to a 25-year prison term for being part of a group responsible for terrorist attacks. Charges he denied. He refused to participate in his trial, which he and his supporters called a sham. But he's supposed to be going to Burundi from his initial plane flight, but he was brought to Kigali instead. But I think there was a lot of pushback from the U.S. Congress and also European Parliament, and because he was such a known figure, that essentially all that could kind of wind up being done, or at least all that was willing to be put up by Kagame, was okay, I'm going to charge him. That's official thing that happened. He's been put in jail, but now we'll release him. So I think, what is it? Now it's 2020, so it's been a couple years. So it's at least good that He's being released now. That's good to hear. That's awesome. But definitely a shame that he had to go through this whole procedure. It's also super crazy that you're getting on a plane here, you're going to one place, and the next thing you know, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. You're in Rwanda, and then you're about to get arrested. Like, that's crazy. And it's also something that has actually been, it's reported in the article that, like, it's been admitted by, the administration at one point. Like, yeah, we did pay for that plane flight to be, sent here. So, that's definitely, crazy situation, but good that he's made it through. Let me go ahead and read a little bit more though. Rusesabagina became a global celebrity after the release of Hotel Rwanda, which depicted him risking his life to shelter hundreds of people as the manager of a luxury hotel in Kigali during the 1994 genocide, when ethnic Hutus killed more than 800,000 people, mostly from the Tutsi minority. U.S. actor Don Cheadle was nominated for an Oscar for his role as Rusesabagina in the 2004 film. So yeah. But yeah, he was also accused of supporting the National Liberation Front, or the FLN, which was seen as an armed wing of his opposition political platform in the Rwandan movement for democratic change in regards to Kagame. So, yeah, definitely a crazy just situation of political, I guess I want to say oppression, really. But it's good to see that Rusesabagina is out now, and hopefully he can get to his family and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.